We mentioned this in one of our earlier episodes. We have Flutter samples, and I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that we have an index for it that is a curated list of samples. So we're working on a ton of samples right now. I think I have 2 or 3 in the pipeline myself, and other people are always making more on the team. But there's also the community. The Flutter community is also cranking out samples, which is great. And so I wanted to have an index in our samples repo that had not just the stuff that the Flutter developer relations team was working on, but also just good stuff that the community has made that people should also be looking at. And so we put together this index. It's in our samples repo, github.com/Flutter samples, and then look for the index. And you can see a bunch of things in here. There's Flutter examples from Nishant. There's another Flutter examples. It's a collection of things from one of our GDEs. And we have just a ton of stuff in here. Brian Egan's architectural samples that I've pointed a zillion people to. So if you're looking for more sample code, you're watching something like this, you are probably interested in Flutter code, and you're looking for more code that's made by people who really know what they're doing, check out this index because you'll see a lot of stuff made by a lot of good people. Okay. We'll switch.
Yeah, here, you'll take a look at the questions, answer them, and I will continue to investigate this bug.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'm going to take Dash. There we go.
Dash can assist with question answering.
And this brings up an important question. Where are... Oh, there. Right in front of me. So this open window is where the question... Okay.
Set you up for success.
Smart lady. All right. So we had a few come in. We talked about the comment that was helping me find the sensors page in the emulator settings. Thanks again for that. Let's see. We had somebody ask about whether it's possible to use the block pattern with Angular Dart. And yes, it is. One of the things people like about block, and one of the things it was designed for actually, was code reuse between Dart for web and Flutter. So block generally will be pure, it's just business logic components. So it's taking in input on a stream and it's outputting its output on another stream. There's not widgets involved generally in a block. It's just pure Dart code. And so one of the benefits of that is that it can run on both platforms. It can run both on mobile and web, and that's part of what it's designed for. So to answer your question, yes. All right. We had another question come in from someone whose YouTube account has Location Services as their name. Is Location Services. Mr. or Miss Services. Thank you for commenting, asking about importing a file as a file versus importing a file as a package. So do you mind flipping real quick just to any file in Android Studio or something, just so we can look. So all the way at the top. Oh, sorry, a Dart file. There we go. So at the top here we have import package flutter/services.dart, which is being imported as a package. That's how it's being recognized. You can import things like in that same way, even if they're in your own projects. If you're working on an app and you have 2 files, one that's called main.dart and another one called widgets.dart, you can import that one as a project, even though it's a local file just sitting in your project, or you can import it as a local file. There's 2 ways to do it. It doesn't really matter which way you do it. The only important thing is that you pick one and stick to it. So and the reason is, if you import a file as package, your app name / and then the file in one place, and then import it as import, just direct path in another, Dart actually considers those 2 separate namespaces. And so it will create 2 sets of class definitions and everything else, even though all the code is in the same file. It has to do with the way it handles the imports. That's something they're looking at maybe changing further down the line, but for right now, that is the case. It considers them 2 separate namespaces. So if you get, you have an object that you allocated in one of those files, and you're using it in some code that was using the import that was done in a different way, you can get a type conflict, and it'll look really weird. It'll be like, type, customer record is not equal to type customer record. And you're like, what are you talking about? This came from this. I only have one customer record class declaration in my whole project. but because it's imported in two separate ways, it counts as two. Personally, I just do the package way for everything. Everybody,
And I actually like to do the direct pathway.
you do the exact opposite.
But the reason is I like that is it helps for me to distinguish between the files that I'm writing and other packages that I import. But it comes down to personal preference, I suppose.
Yeah, like I said, it's really, pick
But
one
be
way.
consistent.
Yeah, pick one way and go with it. It's like when you're chopping up vegetables to roast them. You just pick a size and go with it. So.